I never thought I'd be the kind of person who finds out their entire marriage was a lie. But here I am, sitting in our quiet kitchen at 2 a.m., staring at his empty coffee mug, and wondering how I didn't see it sooner. 10 years. 10 years of my life spent loving someone who wasn't really the man I thought he was. It all started like any normal life. I met Mark when I was 24. He was charming, funny, and made me feel like I'd finally met my person. By the time we married, we were living in a cozy suburban home in Ohio, with 2 kids, a dog named Max, and what looked like a perfect life on the outside. Friends often said, "You two are #relationship goals." I smiled and nodded, but I had no idea those words would one day feel like a cruel joke. The first few years were blissful. Mark worked long hours in finance, which I thought was normal, and I ran a small online boutique from home. Life was full of birthday parties, soccer games, and weekend barbecues. But looking back, the cracks were already there. It started with little things. Phone calls at odd hours. "It's just work," he'd say, but the tone felt off. Extra late nights at the office, a faint smell of perfume I didn't recognize on his jackets. At first, I blamed myself, thinking maybe I was just being paranoid. I remember one Friday evening, we were supposed to have a date night. I was in the living room, curled up with a glass of wine, waiting for him. He walked in at 11 p.m., smiling like nothing was unusual. "Traffic was insane," he said. I frowned. "Traffic? At 11 p.m.? He laughed it off, gave me a quick kiss, and went to bed. Sleep didn't come easy that night. I found myself scrolling through his phone when he was in the shower. Nothing, just emails, texts from colleagues, reminders. Yet there was a tension I couldn't name, growing stronger. Over the next few months, I started noticing more. A random text from a number I didn't know, deleted messages, small unexplained expenses on our credit card. Every time I tried to ask, he would smile, wave it off, and say I was imagining things. Then came the day that changed everything. 5 years into our marriage, I came home early because our youngest, Lily, had a stomach bug. Mark wasn't supposed to be home until 6 p.m., but in the garage I saw him unloading groceries with a woman. They froze when they saw me. "Oh, honey, this is, Mark stammered. The woman waved awkwardly. My stomach dropped. "Mark, what is this?" I asked, my voice shaking. He fumbled. It's not what it looks like." I knew. I knew exactly what it was. The following weeks were unbearable. I tried confronting him gently, asking questions, but every answer felt like a lie. He promised it was a mistake, that she was just a colleague, that it meant nothing. But deep down, I started noticing patterns. Random hotel bookings, strange messages, secret purchases. One night I couldn't sleep. I opened his laptop. Heart pounding, hands cold. I searched for anything that could confirm my fears. And there it was. A hidden folder, password protected. I spent hours guessing until I finally got in. Photos, videos, messages, multiple women. Not just flirting, plans, meetings, trips, gifts. And it wasn't just for a few months. It had been happening for 10 years. 10 years of lies layered on top of our perfect life. I felt sick. I shook, my hands trembling. How could I have been so blind? How could I have raised 2 kids with a stranger? When I confronted him that night, he didn't deny it. He just stared at me, eyes hollow, and whispered, "I didn't think you'd ever find out." The shock was unbearable. I retreated to our bedroom, locked the door, and cried myself to sleep while he sat silently outside. The more I investigated, the more I realized the truth was even darker. He had been living a completely separate life in another city, another house, another woman, a life that ran parallel to ours for a decade. And then came the text I found accidentally, the one that would change everything again. "I miss you. Can't wait to see you this weekend. Don't tell anyone." It wasn't addressed to me. It wasn't for our kids. It was to her. And it wasn't just once. There were hundreds of them. Every holiday, every birthday. I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to confront him. I had to know everything. But when I planned to face him, I had no idea what I was about to uncover next. When I walked through the front door that Sunday evening, I expected him to be waiting, maybe even ready to apologize. But the house was empty, just silence, the kind that presses against your chest. A faint perfume lingered, fresh like she had just been there. I went straight to his study, the one place he always said was off limits. There I found a second key he had hidden for her, a key to a storage unit. Inside was another set of furniture, photos of him with a woman I had never met, documents, even a separate bank account. Everything meticulously organized. I called him. No answer. My hands trembled as I dialed again and again until finally he picked up. "Where are you?" I demanded. He hesitated. I didn't want you to find out like this." "Like this?" I shouted. "Mark, you've been living a secret life for 10 years. Another family somewhere?" He admitted it. Another city, another woman, a life parallel to ours. I hung up and felt my world collapse. The betrayal was suffocating. Everything I thought I knew, the love, the trust, the family dinners, the bedtime stories, was a lie. The confrontation in person was unbearable. I stood in the living room, tears streaming down my face, and shouted, "How could you do this? How could you lie to me every single day for 10 years? Did you even love me?" He said he did, and yet every word felt hollow. I wanted to scream, cry, beg him to explain, but I felt numb, as if part of me had already left. The next weeks were a whirlwind. We told the children, hired a counselor, and began the painful process of separating our lives. Friends and family were shocked. None of them could believe that the man they had trusted for years could betray us like this. The twists didn't end there. I discovered that some of the women he had been involved with knew about each other, and some weren't aware. Some even knew about me. One night, a woman I had never met called me, crying, saying, "I thought he was mine. I didn't know there was a wife and kids." I realized he hadn't just betrayed me. He had betrayed every person he touched in ways I could never fully comprehend. Yet, in the midst of this devastation, I found strength. I started rebuilding my life, focusing on my kids, my work, and my friends. I learned to recognize the warning signs, to trust my instincts, and most importantly, to forgive myself for not seeing it sooner. It's been 3 years since I found out. Mark has moved on, as has his other life. But our children and I have survived, and I've learned something crucial. People are capable of immense deception, but they are also capable of resilience. Some nights when I tuck Lily into bed, I still think about that day, the day I discovered everything, and I whisper to her, "Always trust your heart, always speak your truth, and never let anyone dim your light." Because even after 10 years of lies, even after the heartbreak, I am still here. I am still whole. And I will never let anyone make me feel invisible again. The betrayal was deep, but the lesson was deeper. Sometimes the hardest truths are the ones that make us stronger than we ever imagined.